Hello, this is Larry from Blue Collar Nation, and I'm here with my spectacularly loquacious business partner, Mr. Eric Sprague. How are you, Mr. Tech Whisperer?
Well, I won't talk much. You called me loquacious, so I guess I'll have to keep it brief today.
I doubt that. We have a great guest today. We've got Joe Kowalski with ServiceMonster. How's it going today, Joe?
Good. Hanging in there.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks
sure
for coming on.
It's a little crazy out there, but I think that we're going to make it.
Yeah,
And,
of course we're going to make it.
We're going to make it.
Yeah, we're going to make it, and we're
Why
going to
not?
do it with style.
Yeah.
Which is why we got you on here today, Joe, because you have great style in what you write and what you present to the people out in the world. And Eric's going to take it over from here.
Okay. Well, Joe, as you know, I'm a big fan of your writings on social media, and I went to the ServiceMonster blog yesterday, and I saw a blog that I thought was really great, and I want to read kind of the opening paragraph, and then if we could just talk about it a little bit.
That'd be awesome.
So it says, get back to work. You're an entrepreneur. This is not a vacation. If you need some time to get your head right after making some very hard decisions over the last few weeks, do that, then get back to work. If you're able to keep your business after a few months in lockdown, then take this time to do all the things you never had time to do before. Get your books in order. Take that accounting class. Read, study, read some more. Master your CRM. Find out what a CRM is. Start getting to know your most important vendors. Get your business systems in place. Build a few spreadsheets. Create a few dashboards. The list is endless on how you can use this time on your work, #on your business. If you're thinking of shutting down, lick your wounds and get back to work. Most entrepreneurs fail 4 times before they get it right. Not all of those failures are due to global pandemics, though. I get it, but my point is that you have a clean slate. You can take everything you have learned, every experience you've had, and use that to create something new, a new idea, a new purpose. Don't be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone. Just know that your lack of understanding is simply a measure of how much you need to learn. Embrace the change and build a stronger version of yourself and your business. Dude, those are poignant and wise words right now.
And they sound a lot wiser coming out of you.
Yeah. Dude, you wrote them. I just read it.
Yeah.
I'm going for that audio book reader job if this doesn't work out.
No. Stick with what you're tech whispering. You're all good.
That's right.
Joe, the thing is that in a time when people are really getting upended and freaking out, that's wise counsel. And I just would like you to maybe elaborate on those thoughts a bit, if you could.
Yeah. Man, it's just so much to unpack there. Obviously.
Well, can I interrupt real quick, Joe?
Yeah.
What you're saying is real good. And many people are saying it other ways, but I think the way you phrased it just hit home or landed with me a little bit more. And your perspective is different. So continue, but I just liked how you phrased things.
Yeah, to
really
get
cool.
back to work. I wish that, I think Michael, my marketing director, avoided the title I wanted, which was just to straight up get back to work. Because it's a bit controversial as far as,
Sure.
people making that decision. And nothing that I write or nothing that I advise has anything to do with trying to tell them what to do or what decisions to make for their business right now. For me, I don't put their food on the table and I don't live in their community. I simply want us to pay attention to the science and the medical community and take it seriously. That's it. So as far as business goes, the people who are in the kind of the epicenters, you've got Washington State, which is where I'm at. I'm not too far from Seattle, and New York. You're on lockdown. And so if you're running a business and you're doing the month-to-month thing, your host, like your revenue right now is going to be nil or get there. And if anyone thinks that we're going to open up April 8th, I know that, the feds are saying now April 30th, I don't know.
Who knows?
Nobody knows.
We don't.
Nobody knows. It's a complete wild card. This is the biggest event in my lifetime, and I'm 45 years old. So I was born after Vietnam. And so it's like, I don't know, there's a lot to unpack. And so as a business owner, you've got a couple choices. As an entrepreneur, I don't know about anyone else here, but I suffocate when I can't push the ball forward. I had cancer in 2000 and I missed 4 days of work because not working, twiddling my thumbs was worse than the chemo.
Yeah.
And so the only days I took off were the day after I had chemo. So I took half a day for the chemo and then the day after. So usually that was Thursday, Friday is how I got to swing it. And so if you're sitting at home or your schedule's dwindling or you've made the choice or whatever the range of business input income you're dealing with right now, you're still an entrepreneur. You are still motivated. You are still driven. You are still looking for that end game. And to sit at home and watch TV and do leisure shit, like, I don't know, man, that would just eat me up inside. So finding productive things to do can help ease the soul. If you're not able to operate your business and you're able to keep it for a couple months shut down because you have a better financial position, maybe you've made some hard decision like we have at ServiceMonster and laid some people off. We laid off 9 last Friday. If you can do that and weather the storm, then man, there is an infinite number of things that you can be working on, like if you were stuck in the office. And the list is endless. I mean, we can go through it forever, and there's lots of things that we listed on the blog post there. And reading, just, picking up a book and opening your mind. But I think I've been on a tear lately about formal logic. And it's amazing to me that we don't teach this. So Aristotle and his merry gang in 300 BC figured this shit out a long time ago. There's like 24, 27. We've added a little bit since then, logical fallacies. Do you know how to construct a syllogism? Do you know how to articulate your point? Do you know how to avoid all the pitfalls? Like, I'm seeing a lot of discussions about this stuff online, and things are getting more serious. And so the discussions are becoming more serious. And I am drawn to the conversations where people check their ego, because we are all victims of confirmation bias, and how we look at the world, and it does us no service. And as entrepreneurs, we fall into a trap because we think that our actions have led to our success. And there's a lot of truth in that, right? Obviously, but there's a lot more to it than that. And sometimes the actions that have led to your success will further limit your success at a certain point.
Sure.
And it's scary it's scary to unlearn that, to say, oh shit, I was wrong. Let's do this. Oh no, I don't know what's going to happen. It's either going to go down or up or stay the same.
Well, I think an illustration of that point would be that when you're in startup mode, a certain group of behaviors and actions get you going. And those are the polar opposite of the skills and actions you need once you're building a team and trying to scale. Just to put that in perspective.
Totally right. You've got the ego, you've got the attitude, you've got the never say die, you've got the, I'm going to get this done at all costs. There's no whining. I don't need to worry about anyone else's feelings. You name the list. That's the stuff you need as a single owner operator. And the minute you have more than 2 employees, all that shit is destructive.
Totally.
Help. So it takes a long time to learn that. And then the other flip side to this too is, okay, let's say you're devastated. Let's say you're not going to recover from this. You're looking at putting your equipment up. Obviously the scale is a little different depending on what service industry you're in. I think the cleaners are going to hit the hardest.
Yeah.
So your pressure washers, window cleaners, and then moving into carpet cleaners. Janitorial services, usually those grow to a decent size. You got HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, usually have decent coffers. So you may be looking at layoffs and so forth, but they could really hone and refine. There's so much slush in those industries as far as what you can do to improve your stats, because those guys are usually a victim of their own success. So they're just rolling. They don't know how much fat they can actually cut out if they focus on some processes and so forth.
Right.
And so everyone has a part to play. Everyone can still be working, even if you then lost it. Do something else. Think of something else. Use this time to come up with something new, like start a computer business. Oh, Joe, I can't do that. I don't know anything about computers. Okay, learn. Read. You're not going to. I am the last person that someone's going to come to and say, I don't know that, so I can't do it. Because everything I learned, I picked up on the fly. And so, and you guys know the story. I don't have to go through it, but
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that how many people kind of just wilt and don't fortify and don't say, all right, what's the opportunity here? And I don't mean the sleazy opportunity for selling Purina, at $50 a squirt, but.
Well, you said something in your third paragraph there. It said, if you're thinking of shutting down, lick your wounds and get back to work. We can't sit here and say, oh, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. I mean, lots of guys are going to close their doors, but those guys are still entrepreneurs at heart, and people won't look at them the same way when maybe as before, when you say, yeah, well, I failed because, coronavirus took the company out. There's not going to be that shame attached to that. No. So
yeah, you get a free L.
Yeah, you kind of do. And so what would you say to that guy? Like, okay, you are shutting the doors, but you've still got that passion. You've still got that,
I say now is a perfect opportunity, and there's never been a better time in human history to build something. Yeah. And you know what? Just start thinking about what you can do. What are you absolutely just in a tear about? Instead of your business, what are you like sidetracking and hustling on during the hours of your business, right? Are you doing fantasy football stuff? Are you, maybe you're into sports a lot. Maybe you're into cars or, whatever, art, whatever it is. There's an opportunity to build a digital niche, and the services that you could provide are endless. So the question becomes: are you creative enough? Are you passionate enough? Are you driven? Because it's going to take a lot of work. If you've been pushing the wand for 10 years and you were fairly successful at that, but you were kind of flying through your cash as you were making it, and now you're stuck, and you're like, that wasn't that fun anyways. I kind of hated cleaning carpet. Then pick something new and don't be intimidated by the intellectual journey.
Well, these guys, when they first started being a carpet cleaner, an electrician, or an HVAC guy, they didn't know it. They weren't experts at the time, just like they're not experts in something they can move into. Yeah. So there's the opportunity to shift and put their passion towards something that developed in the meantime, just like what you're saying, and put the energy towards that, if that'll work.
Yeah. And you could do it on someone else's dime for a minute too. Like let's just say there's a small portion of our users that really like to code against our product. And I find that fascinating. They're pushing the wand or they're turning the wrench in the middle of the day. And then at night they're hacking against their ServiceMonster data. So it's, let's say you could pretty much just probably, I would say if you really hit it hard, probably 2 to 3 months, you could get good enough to probably get a virtual job as a junior engineer, and you probably make more money per hour.
Right. Yeah. Well, now's the time for reinvention.
Yes.
If you get laid off, if unfortunately you have to shut doors, look, pushing a wand for 10 years is really difficult. And maybe you started that job when you're 25 and now you're 35. And even though, yes, it was providing you a good living and all those things, if you weren't already scaling by that point, you were never going to scale. So are you still going to be able to push that wand at 55? Not like you did at 25,
Yeah.
So but now also, can you take what you learned by being a business owner and put it into something that you can really do for a long time without the physical limitations as well.
But what you said, Eric, you learned also, besides just pushing the wand or turning the wrench, you learned how to run a business as well.
Totally.
Yeah. 100%. And those skills are extremely valuable as well.
Well, everybody's using the word pivot. And, some of us will be forced into pivoting. And, Joe, I think your point with what you wrote was, are you going to lay down and watch Netflix? Or are you really going to sit there and grind out the hard work of figuring out what you're going to do and learn the skill?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And of course, I painted a pie in the sky a little bit with the coding aspect. I take it for granted how easy it is to learn, honestly. And I think more people should give that credence. But I understand that there's a huge barrier there in most people's minds mentally, and a lot of people won't find it enjoying. My point, though, is that reach. Like, if you're super stoked about something, that's going to help provide the fuel in order to then get you through the educational path, the fog of war, get something, a product or a service out there as quickly as possible. This whole pivot thing and minimum value proposition, we've been doing this stuff in tech for 2 decades. When $20 million is thrown at a company and the market they hit doesn't pick it up, that's the first thing they're doing. They're looking for that other opportunity. How can we take this product or this thing we built, tweak it a little bit, and introduce it to a different market? And they start shopping it in different markets, and then they make the pivot.
Yeah. I think Slack is a great. I don't know if you know the story about Slack. So I think his name's Stuart Butterfield. I think he's the CEO. He got a bunch of seed money to build video games because he had built one video game that had become successful, and he just couldn't get this video game to get any traction. Internally, they had built Slack, what is now Slack, to communicate with each other. They were basically going out of business. They had a little bit of money left, and he said, why don't we just take what we made internally and go put that in the marketplace? And boom.
Right.
Same
Absolutely.
thing. I mean, that's exactly what you just talked about.
That's exactly right. They already had the same skill set in general. They may have swapped some dev for graphics for some line of business people, but yes. Absolutely. Yeah. And so, reach, find that thing you're passionate about, figure out what you can do, run some thought experiments, run some whiteboard stuff, you're a business owner. You've already been through some of this stuff and you know the mistakes you've already made. Don't make them again. Whiteboard this shit out and figure out what you need to do and then develop a path and then execute. I mean, I don't know how to put it any more simple than that.
No. All right. So before I don't want to take too much of your time. These are short and I know you're busy. So what do you see playing out over the next, 3 or 4 months? And I know you can't be held to this, but in the cleaning industry, especially, where do you think, because don't you think if guys can hang on, there's going to be an abundance of work as this starts to lift?
So I think you can, again, logical, right? Formal logic. So there's some givens, I think we can say. Given people are going to go out of business. Yeah. Given people aren't going to go out of business. The market is going to change, ? If the market stays relatively the same, I think if it would have changed, it'd be a 3 to 5% swing either way, right? You could, or maybe 5%. You can say, no, people want to be more clean. Or you can say, no, people don't want to be people in their homes. And so there's that weird game that I don't know what the market is going to do once this thing kind of subsides and people can get back to work. But when that happens, the playing field will definitely be different. That's a given. There'll be fewer cleaners and there'll be some change in market share. And I doubt that those will be ratioed, which means that the people who are left over are going to have some very healthy years coming out of this.
Well, and their prices will likely be able to rise with that.
If you don't raise your prices, you're a fool.
Yeah.
That's just straight up. If the phone's ringing and right, the swell is starting to happen. But I would say if you've had a pricing problem in the past, fix it now.
Yeah.
Come out of this, right? Don't make a change coming out of it. Just the new model is whatever it is when you turn it back on. So this is one of those things that you can start playing with. You can start modeling. You can start, a 10% or 15% price increase would bring significant additional horsepower to your business, right? Because the costs are already taken care of. That's just
exactly what happened to us, because we were so afraid, and our coach said, "You got to raise your prices, double your prices." We practically doubled them, and we
doubled them, and nothing. We had the same amount of customers we always had.
Yeah.
I
was about to execute an increase in ServiceMonster, but now I know I can't. So yeah, and I haven't for a long time. It's been like over 10 years. So I preach it. It's harder to pull the trigger sometimes.
Sure.
So.
Yes. Well, no, I mean I know in our business, because we used your company for a decade and before we sold. And I always thought this is like the greatest deal ever. You know, I mean, no, I'm seriously. I was like,
Yes.
because you got to realize, Joe, we also had to run a restoration only software as well, which the price point there was way, way higher.
Right.
And I'm not sure the value was much higher, if any.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
you know, that's the market. You know, the cleaning market's different.
Continuing on our journey then, so you're looking at a different market in a different market share for each individual business that's left behind.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have the people that leave, you know, most of those guys, unfortunately, probably really weren't entrepreneurs. They were kind of doing a self-employment gig, which is awesome in and of itself, but you might consider going to work for somebody else. Maybe take the burden off if it was just too stressful for you.
And there's no shame to that either.
Not at all. Not at all. But if that gets you fired up a little bit when I say that, then I'm not talking about you. Get back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go find something
I have
that
a
you
pit
need
in
to
my
do.
stomach for you saying that, but you know, but there are a lot of guys who have carpet cleaning business that are truly self-employed.
Yeah.
That they're technicians at heart.
Yep.
They're not entrepreneurs.
No, but then you could pivot too, right? Again, maybe if you're on the mechanical side of things, you know, maybe a shade tree auto mechanic. Those are going to become in favor here real quick.
Yeah.
Like there's just all kinds of things you can kind of plan and plot for, but you know, to believe that the battlefield's going to go back to the way it was, that's not.
No.
And the whole world's going to be different. The digital evolution happened. My company's a perfect example. I'm a digital company, for crying out loud, except for filling my schedule. But I was dragging my feet on virtualization and distributed workforce. And the reason is because I'm a teacher at heart. I want to be able to stand in front of the whiteboard and know that I'm getting that feedback. And I love collaboration. I hire really smart people. And when you get them all in a room together, man, some amazing things can happen. And so I was always hesitant. I lost a developer because we didn't offer any kind of remote services. And I went, all right, let's start giving it to the devs. And so I gave them a 1 day a week about 1.5 years ago. And they liked it, but they weren't knocking on my door for more time either. So everybody was kind of settled in. We made sure our support staff could weather winter. But so that means that agents should be able to answer phones from home. So we had some of the infrastructure, but I was dragging my heels. This hits, and 2 weeks before Inslee gives the order, boom, virtualized. And we're more efficient. I dare say we're faster. The company's more in the know.
Works.
The communication is better. It's ridiculous. We use, here's a tip, we use Facebook Workplace. We've tried many different collaboration and chat tools. Slack is good. Mattermost is good. Facebook Workplace is amazing. And it's just on point. And I know a guy who runs one of the largest national real estate companies in the nation. So over $1 billion company. And his company started 100% virtual, and they use Workplace, Facebook Workplace.
Wow.
In addition
That's a great tip.
Yeah, in addition to another tool, but that's the tool. That's the one you want to go to. That caught fire in our company, and we've been using others for years. So again, it overnight happened. So where are we going to end up is almost all positions that can be virtualized will be. And I'm excited now because I can hire a kid in Detroit who's hungry and wants to learn how to code. I still haven't figured out how the personalized communications, the education, and the collaboration really are going to play out. So not the live aspect, but it's a muscle that we'll start flexing. Yeah. And I think that as a people, we'll get more comfortable of the body language read, you know what I mean? The shift in chair, like we'll start paying more attention to inflections, maybe in voice. We'll start being a little more careful with our written word, that kind of thing, I think is going to happen.
I want to finish on that, you know, that I would think in that scenario for companies like yours and like everybody's, building a culture is going to be the hard part.
Yep.
Building that culture where, you know, when people are together in person, you get those strong bonds, you know, where Larry used to hug all our people all the time. You know?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Can't do
HR
that anymore.
okay with that?
Yeah,
Never.
they were okay with it. So, I mean, it was mutual. So, but Larry's a huggy feely guy, and he really, helped build our culture of kind of family-esque work, or
Right.
at least strong team. It's going to be interesting to see how companies adapt to trying to do that if everybody's working virtually.
Yeah, and the infrastructure, I'm just so impressed. If you take a second to think about like all the positives that are coming out of this, that virtualization I think is a big one. It'll play out over the next year or so as distributed workforces for, and maybe those flyover states won't be so destitute overall, because we can start employing the horsepower in Michigan and in Illinois, and they don't have to be on the coast. And then
it could be a redistribution of wealth.
Yeah, it flattens the curve potentially. I mean, and now if you're virtual, you may be more likely to do Facebook and Instagram, and there's a lot of opportunity there if you like making content. There are people that are supporting their families because they love science and they study science like the Dickens, and once a week they do a half an hour show on science, and they get 250,000 followers, and they're making 5, 6, 7K a month.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of opportunity out there. The world is going to be a little different. But stop and just think like the infrastructure shift, like the internet alone. For the last decade, we've been prepping because we've wanted HD streaming. And so now that we can pop in, and what all of us are from home, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
You guys all at home?
Larry's in California. I'm in Utah. You're in Seattle.
Yeah. And I'm in my home. I'm working in my home. And
me too.
And it's all, we're having this conversation, and we're getting good video feed and audio. And my son's probably gaming in the next room.
Yeah. I have to lock the cat out of my office, or he's going to be sitting right here.
That's right. That's right. So that could have went a lot worse, right? Because now all of the people pushing bandwidth in the middle of the day, the ISPs never accounted for that.
Yeah.
And so just like those little things, the fact that we have devices, I'm running my entire company from my phone, legit. Like every meeting, every conversation, every chat, it's straight from the phone. I do code on my desktop, right? So I still sling some code or write an article. Like I'm not writing an article on my phone, right? But sometimes I'll write an article in a Facebook feed, though.
Yeah.
Perfect. It works. Kids
That's right.
do that too. The kids are on the phone just reading stories and making stories. My daughter says she does that all the time, and I'm like, "Are you sure?"
Dude, there's people who are writing books on their iPhones.
Yeah. Well, maybe that shows my age there as a Gen Xer, but
No, I'm with you.
You're in good company. All right, Joe. Well, we don't want to take your whole day. Thank you. These were enlightening words, and I think what I liked about your blog the most, I just want to say, is that it was still realistic. It wasn't pie in the sky. It was saying that bad things could happen to good people, but the response, regardless of what the situation is always go back to work, go do something. Don't go fetal and sit with your phone and watch the news feed of doom and gloom.
Surf porn all day long, like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do something.
Yeah,
and you always feel better when you do something. Like you said, when you had cancer. So, anyway.
Are you familiar with Stockdale syndrome?
Yes.
Okay.
Just spoke about that the other day.
Yeah, Brett Gilliland from Elite Entrepreneurs was on 2 days ago, and he talked about that.
Awesome. That's so good, because this is exactly what we're in, realizing the reality of our situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the thing about that is that they asked Stockdale, well, who didn't make it, and he immediately, without even thinking about it, said the optimist didn't make it.
That's right.
Because they weren't looking at the real vision of what it may be like.
The problem here is that the optimists are in disguise of naysayers, right? The people who aren't listening to the scientific community, who aren't listening to the medical community, who aren't taking this seriously. In this case, that's the slice of the pie that are the optimists. Oh, it's just fine. Oh, it's just like the flu. Oh, it's 5G. Oh, it's like, man, whatever crazy tinfoil shit you're talking about, like, probably ain't it. But those are the optimist people, because they're sticking their head in the sand. They're just ignoring it. And so those are the people that are going to be hit hardest. And when these numbers, I've seen the our model right now, we're in the United States, we're every 3 days, the death rate doubles.
Yeah.
Exponents are really hard for people to figure out until the numbers get big, and then they're shocked by it. I've seen it over and over. As a data guy, like hell, when I was doing my chemistry gig, we were working in moles. And so everything was exponents, 10 to the 53rd.
Goes so fast.
Yeah.
Molarity just blows it up.
Yep. So exponential growth is really hard for people who aren't in the science community. But
well, I think certain people are not good at taking a scenario and then putting it out in time further. They can't see that for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That's so. Anyway, well, Joe, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Always enlightening.
Pleasure. See you, Joe.
Thank you, sir.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.